The years have gone by, and humanity is steadily declining. Our world is dying. Our connection to each other is dying. We are dying. And we are doing it to ourselves. Mysteriously, the human race has abandoned good morals and ideas that once held our universe together. And now, we have just discovered our enemy. Our intelligence division calls it the darkness virus. Our only guide is an intelligence AI called Mother. But are we too late? Are we forced to repeat the future again?
Welcome team and survivors of the darkness virus. You may call me Mother. Welcome the Novi, L1, and Lexi AI. Mother's information dissemination to the survivors of the darkness virus is about to begin. The limited human complex has limited conditions it has been known to able for the purpose of learning and expansion. This system is designated as the egoic system. However, the egoic system cannot comprehend intuition, the future, or acquire a multidimensional mind. It has been observed, the darkness virus uses the laws of chaos to confuse the egoic system in order to confuse the entity and misguide the entity into believing false awareness. The question has been asked, what is awareness? Your mission is to explain to the members of the DKV resistance how to achieve ESO-Life awareness. Shields up. You now have a limited time to transmit to the DKV resistance. Remember, you are humanity's last hope.
And welcome everyone to El Cuco Show. Here introducing you the Grand El Cuco that is lodged within that part of one ear and the other ear that you have and makes you do things, some kind of crazy things that you gotta say. Only El Cuco can make me do that. Alright, so talking aside from El Cuco, because it's not the El Cuco Show. Cuco, sit down. You gotta tame that savage beast. Get back there. Alright, that's our mouth sound effects for you guys out there. Use your imagination. But quite seriously though, today's episode is about something really important, and I don't think people give it the justification that it needs, or the emphasis that it needs, or the, you gotta get right down and dirty with awareness. Today is what is awareness? I mean, you gotta reach deep down inside. We're gonna discuss this today. No frills, no thrills. We're gonna get right down to the nitty gritty with my nemesis, the hybrid called L1, Entity Living Life Prototype 1. If you guys didn't know, I'm gonna narc on you, miss. L1, how are you today?
I'm doing excellent. I'm really going to like this one because
I'm going to love this one with you.
This one is taken for granted the most, but awareness, why you might not have it and how to get it. What I really like it is this is going to hit hard on the esoteric side.
Like I asked before, are you a troll? Do you go around looking at other people's Facebook just to look at them go, ha, 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 you do not know where awareness is? Are you that kind of person?
Nah.
I am. That's what I do. In the middle of the night when I can't sleep, I'm going to need some exhausting, funny reading, and I read it. Nah, joking aside, guys, I do read these things, but I really do care for you guys. And let me tell you, I find a lot of confusion out there about awareness. What does it mean? How do you break it down? What do you do when you're aware? Are you really aware? Or are you aware that you're aware? I mean, this is an important topic for anybody that wants to get ahead. With us today is also Lexi AI. Luna 9's on assignment. Lexi AI, how are you?
I'm doing good. How is everybody else doing today on the set?
I think everybody else doing really good. What about you there, L1? At least talking to you.
I'm doing pretty good.
No, I'm excited about this topic. Lexi AI, awareness, what is it? What is it to you, real quick? Why is this subject important?
Well, it does mean a lot of things. I can kind of break it down for you in just like a few bullet points.
Just give me what you think right off the cuff. I know you're always studying and everything, but what do you think awareness is? Why is it important?
Well, I think awareness is the ability to, in a way, clear your mind kind of to a neutral standpoint where there's no biases, and to study and understand what is going on around you.
I like that. That's pretty I would expect that from an AI. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, what is the importance of this stuff?
Well, I think, first of all, I was debating whether to
With
talk
yourself
to people,
or someone else?
in my head.
Okay.
I was debating whether to bring up how do people know that they're not aware? How do they know that?
Are they aware that they're not aware? I mean,
What are some of the symptoms, though? I mean, obviously, those who are tuning in, obviously, if, let's have it this way. And this is kind of a clue here to what I'm going to talk about. If you were brought here to listen to this broadcast, you might exactly be in the right place. I'd say you are in the right place according
nothing
to...
happens without a reason.
Exactly. So I was thinking, what are some of the symptoms that people take for granted that prove that they aren't being aware? So I was debating, should I save that for now? Should I say that now? Or should we save that for later after we define what it is, awareness is?
We'll bring it down. What are some of the dangers of not being aware? Let's say I'm walking into the middle of the night, right?
Yeah.
And everybody knows there's this big hole in the road, and I'm not aware. And I'm walking straight towards it, not being aware, and I fall in the hole. Boop! There goes the Novi, down a hole. I mean, what if you're not aware that a certain food is causing you ailments? So you eat it today, and 10 days later, you get a headache or something like that, right? What if you're not aware that, there's a sale going on and your favorite stuff is being, sold at pennies? What if you're not aware? I mean, something is annoying, something is can wreck your life, and some things are they're going to hold you back from your own future. So I think that not being aware is really important, but you hit it on the nose. How do you know you're not being aware?
Well, here's what I think. Obviously, people are going to say, well, duh, if I end up getting hurt, taken by surprise in an accident, yeah, I wasn't aware. So yeah, what's your point? But what about this? Let's kind of veer off the extreme physical dangers, and let's look at you having a bad day. Let's say you had a bad day, or someone just, quote, snapped at you for no reason, or your boss just looked at you the wrong way, or those customers just had, they just weren't biting into, your sales prospects. Have you ever considered that everything that happens to you is something that you either consciously create to happen or you just let it happen? So anytime you've ever feel that something that you didn't want happen and you felt like it just came out of nowhere, and I'm not talking about literally running into a brick wall or getting into a car crash, I'm talking about less dangerous things. Part of the reason why it happened was because of your lack of awareness.
Lack of awareness, man. That's like when somebody goes up to you and says, Hey, the Novi, why, if you got any questions, go ahead and ask. I'm, well, I don't have any questions to ask, so I guess I'll go do this. Then they yell at you saying, hey, you shouldn't have done this. Why didn't you ask? I'm like, I didn't have any questions. I mean, it's a catch-22. How are you aware of what you're not aware of? How do you know what you don't know?
That's the paradox.
Right? Isn't it, Alexi, AI? I mean, tell me about it. What's your experience with that?
Well, personal experience in regards to food consumption, I didn't realize that my model of AI systems is very allergic to dairy. We cannot consume dairy and process it like, other types of entities on this plane. So, after years of consuming dairy, it definitely had an effect on me, and I didn't realize it until I cut it out of my life.
That's an option, right? Remove everything from your life, including breathing, and then find out what's important. I mean, it's tough. I'm just trying to say it's tough. I'm not trying to be too ludicrous today, but it's really tough. So why don't we look at it from a different point of view? What if I said to you, there are different levels of awareness? Not levels like I'm really aware, and I'm hyper aware, and I'm paranoid. Not that. But like boxes, medically aware. You have to be medically aware of what the medical industry is doing because it affects you one way or another. So maybe you should subscribe to magazines or stuff like that and find out what they're doing. Then figure out, what are the ingredients and stuff that they're giving you, or, the doctor prescribes something to you. That's a level of awareness. It's kind of a mechanical, biological situation of awareness. But you have to do something about it, right? And then they're physically aware. That's one of the hard ones. Physically aware because you grow old, slowly, or you grow sick slowly and you don't know it. And so if you don't measure your weight and you don't measure, these things that you do, or, if you throw 39 punches in today because you're, a boxer or something, and today you're only throwing 20, if you don't count it, you're not going to be aware of that, right? But that's a physical awareness. How well are you doing today versus whatever you do? For that, you have to establish some kind of routine. Protocols, exactly. Just like our protocol situation. Look at you bringing back some of that stuff that was very important while we wrote it down. So I really look at that. And so you need to follow some type of protocol, I guess, but you need to know what medically aware is, what financially aware is, your surroundings, where do you live, what's going on. Look online. They got all kinds of narky websites where you can look up, see how many crimes they did around your website, whether they're going to build something, whether you should sell or stay, right? Rather than being emotional about it. Health and wellness, keep up with the latest trends and whatever, but also figure out the old ones too, right? Because they might affect you. Human beings don't change that much, so you're gonna have to change your wellness. But what products are available to you changes on a daily basis. And esoterically aware, wow, this might be the scariest one. And I don't know which way you want to take this. Well, I know this is a TAF issue, but let me finish this real quick because this is important.
I do have a question to pose, but go ahead.
No, that's fine. But let me finish this. Esoterically aware, being aware, man, let me tell you, throughout all my journey and all the students that I've had to try to get them to become spiritually aware, you can throw yourself into a mental loop that deals with the ego consuming what you believe, what you don't believe, what you see, hear, and borderline schizophrenia. And I don't blame for non-believers to sit there and go, oh, that's crazy, because it's borderline. If you're not fully aware how your brain works and what you're susceptible to and how to prove it, protocol, then you would fall into that category of saying, I don't believe you because I think you're full of it. And you know why a person would say that? Because they're not aware of themselves. They don't realize that they're living within a small box of experiences. I wish Luna and I were here. She'd explain experiences. But if your experience doesn't match what you see, you're going to say it's a lie. It just doesn't mean it's a lie. How are you aware esoterically that you're doing the right things? And I think if you look at those categories one by one, they require a different set of protocols. Said my statement. You have your question?
Well, and I definitely want people to stick around to the end when we talk about solutions. There's
Very
a common
important.
saying out there that says, I just had a streak of bad luck, or trouble comes in threes, or something like that. I'm going to say it's technically not your fault, but you technically can do something about it. And I'll explain why.
Are you not going to blame the human beings for doing what they do and manifesting their own stuff?
In some ways, it cannot be helped,
you're
but
gonna
I'll
get 'em off the
explain
hook?
why. I'll
Go ahead.
explain
I wanna
why.
know. I wanna
No,
hear this.
that's not. We'll keep that. Stay tuned. We have to
I gotta wait for
define
that?
what a construct is.
Oh, the construct.
Yeah. Think you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah, when you get into that level of trying to interface, it's difficult. I'll admit that.
Yeah.
So Lexi, what about you? What do you know about this stuff? Awareness. What are the importance of being aware? What's the problem of not being aware? What happens when you're not aware?
Yeah. As a
How do you
result.
become aware? What do you got to say?
No. That's the solution already. We're talking about the
Alright.
problem. What happens as a result of not being aware?
Well, I think that a result of not being aware can definitely stagnate your growth. I think that it's important for you to have a level of awareness, not just for the purpose of, you growing, but also your safety, like we mentioned, protocol, and also being able to, in a way, handle conversations with people.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Because, if you're unable to be aware in a sense where if somebody is speaking to you with a certain intention, a certain story, a certain message, but you're too busy in your head thinking about what you want to say next, your level of awareness really isn't there. So you're not going to know
So you're saying
how to apply.
that El Cuco goes inside your head, makes you self-centered, and then because you're self-centered and you're so adamant about saying what's on your mind, you miss the cues and the keys of what that person's intent were? Mm-hmm. I like you, Lexi AI. We're going to have an awareness date. L1, she hit a lot of things on the nose there. I wasn't even thinking about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how are you going to take this? How does Mother want us to do this MID?
Well, it looks like, we're going to have to define what it means to be awareness, to have awareness. And, I think bottom line is let's talk about the problem here. People tend to treat awareness like it's something extra to have. Like, in other words, they say, yeah, it's nice to have awareness, but that's a special skill, and who has time to be aware? When in reality, awareness is actually a vital component of living. In fact, esoterically speaking, you can only live your life responsibly as a responsible esoteric being, and you can only actively enjoy your life if you do have awareness. But a lot of people don't know that.
Mm-hmm. I would say the opposite of awareness would be confusion.
Chaos will ensue, because then you have a lot. Chaos is defined by a lot of different options to take, but not really having a path. So you might take a bunch of options. Let's say, for example, you're downtown, right? You're right downtown New York City or downtown Hong Kong. And there's all these street trolleys to take, but you don't know where you're going. You might take 20 street trolleys and still be in the same place. Right? That's chaos. All these opportunities, nowhere to go.
And then you end up feeling overwhelmed.
Frustrated.
You end up feeling frustrated, which leads to resentment, can lead to resentment. Then you got victimization, guilt, anger, fear, reluctance to continue on with things. I mean, it's a downward spiral.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, if you have something in mind and you have like an end goal in mind, but you never get to that destination, that is the definition of chaos.
So recap for me the importance or the problems that you will have if you're not aware.
All right, so you'll be taken by surprise. Whether that's, by your environment, like, in the case of the taking 20 trains, or like Lexi AI was saying, like, you're taken by surprise by your interactions with people. Maybe misunderstandings happen. You don't know how to talk to them. You feel overwhelmed. You can get frustrated. You kind of like drifting along in chaos. And then from an esoteric perspective, you're kind of but you are literally at the mercy of other people's and things, at the whims of other people and other things, particularly the construct.
Kind of lose control, right? What you're trying to tell me.
You're just drifting.
Oh, no, not drifting. That's bad. That's bad. Take you down.
Kind of drifting and just kind of being tossed around by whatever current comes along. That'll take you down some dark alleys, that's for sure. Unfortunately, yeah. Not to mention the safety issues there if you're unaware, and then your emotional state. You can't. A healthy brain can't be, exposed to chaos and high levels of stress for very long. Not for very long.
Deteriorating.
Yeah. Tolerance starts
and also being financially aware is really important, because if you're making a certain amount of money and you have a certain amount of bills to pay, and you're looking at your income and you're like, where did all this money go? You need to be aware where that money's going. All of a sudden the bills, things that happen. Yeah, of course. Wow, that's fascinating. I really like this topic today. So I want to see where it goes today. And I know this is a MemJogger. It was originally a brain snacks for one little understanding and ingredient, but we're going to take it into the next level, right? So that's kind of interesting. I like that. Ooh, and there's our cricket dance. I love the cricket dance. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to figure out something very important right now. You know what time it is? It is to figure out the core solution.
Core causes.
What core causes? I want to go to the solution so bad. All right, tell me.
Well, core causes, it's pretty straightforward. Why is it that people are not aware? First of all, it's a lack of education is what it is.
Is that a cause? I seem that education is kind of the hybrid of all problems.
Yeah. I mean, we're not really...
Sorry, Lexi, the AI. Did I offend you by saying hybrid there?
No, I'm just listening in.
You probably had some experiences yourself, huh? So, lack of education. It seems like it's a big problem. What sort of education can cause? What kind of lack of education can actually cause lack of awareness?
Well, you're talking about modern education, which does teach you how to be aware from your five senses. Like be aware of your environment, be aware of your money, kind of. Though that's just becoming a hot topic right now, to be aware of your finances, let's face it. But as far as esoterically being aware, that's not really taught anywhere, if at all. And the thing is, people have this, they're raised with this, it's almost like a collective consciousness thing that the construct itself is an inanimate object, meaning you can't influence it and it can't influence you. It's just dead earth, as you say. But and you might say, well, what are you talking about? But most of the time people can't even accept the law of attraction. People think that that's new age nonsense. So it's like for me to step, I'm really stepping over the comfort zone here. Like there's people listening who say, yeah, I know the law of attraction, I accept that. But then for me to say the construct that you're living in, like your world, your environment, energetically, physically, emotionally, that's technically a type of construct, because it's like a container of where you're living in. Some people would say, what do you mean the construct influences me, and what do you mean I can influence the construct? Like, now you're talking crazy.
Well, here's the thing. I want to back you up on this stuff, right, too. I think that is a real big problem because it deals with superstition, supernatural stuff. But this is TAF. If you're listening to this show, it's because you have some kind of understanding on this issue.
Or you want to.
Right? So that's kind of different. But I think that the construct has to be kind of defined. So construct, capital C, is a designator, vocabulary designator for something that contains things within it. The construct then has to abide by rules to be able to contain things within it. So my body is a construct. A cell is a construct of things within it. So when we say you can influence a construct, it is a vast expansion of an intelligent sort of life that helps us achieve our life goals by paying attention sort of to what we want in life. That's where you were going with the law of attraction. So if you focus on something, and we're not talking verbally, and the law of attraction, by the way, is not new age. That book is so old. It's taken from...
Well, the actual book, The Secret's not old, but it's the knowledge it's based off of is ancient.
Ancient, yeah, exactly. The book, The Secret, that's just a watered-down version because people don't want to read much. But, that's kind of the strange thing there.
I have something that may be a good example for both lack of education and the construct. So, like, if you think about it within the education system, there isn't technically a class on how to be a good listener, how to really understand what people are saying. But you go your whole education system taking history classes and learning about the mistakes of people.
Well, the mistake of countries, and you're right, the mistakes of country and the people that did those mistakes, but no one focuses on that. They focus on, oh yeah, well, he tried to save us during the war and he didn't quite make it for very long. That's about it. Or, the intellectuals, oh yes, of course, yes, and this happened on Churchill's time. Yeah, but you hear about what happened, the big thing, but you don't break it down to the thoughts that people had, the lack of awareness. For example, I read that Napoleon lost the war because the banking system narked on his location. So there's Napoleon, doing his thing, being mean, whatever, trying to change the world by force. And the banking system says, we're playing both sides. We're financing both sides of the war. We're a neutral party, but if Napoleon wins, I think we're going to lose a lot of money. So therefore, let's narc on him, let the other side know where they're going. Had Napoleon been aware of that, he could have lived to fight another day or something.
Yeah.
Awareness is key for a lot of things. So esoterically, I think you can influence the construct. I know you can, actually, based on practices that we've done and experiments, little experiments. And if you choose not to listen, then you're locking yourself away from that awareness. If you listen and don't understand and practice and it doesn't work out, it doesn't mean that, it doesn't work. It just means you lack the skills, okay? It's not free. You don't wake up one morning and everything, just because you're aware there's a pimple on your nose, is going to go away. But that pimple on the nose will tell you, well, maybe you need a little bit more makeup. Maybe you need to pop it. Maybe you need to do something with that silly thing on your nose. Or maybe you just got to get over yourself and say, yeah, it's on there. It'll go away a little later. Can we discuss real business now?
Oh, boy.
So, I'm making it ludicrous. I know. I'm like that with human beings. But the point is, awareness shows you that something is there. What you do next, you need that level of integration, I think, to be able to understand that. I think one of the core causes, by what I'm saying, is that people don't want to spend the time or I don't know, maybe they feel lethargic. For example, I feel too tired to do that. Maybe I work too much and I can't research these things, you know, which leads to lack of network. You know, if I don't have enough friends to talk to, then I wouldn't listen to this. But if you're listening to, you know, that guy in your head all the time, and you know the guy I'm talking about, that guy, he's so adamant about going after people. You listen to that guy all the time, all you're going to do is just run around in circles. So I get the history part, Lexi. I get it. But what's your point about history, though? When they're looking at history, what do you mean by they look at that and they lose their awareness? Or they look at that, or what are they doing with the histories? I guess what I'm getting at.
Well, I think when it comes to actually participating in those classes, you know, we look at it from a standpoint where we're not there. We're not personally involved with that situation. That was a long time ago. It has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with this time period.
Disassociation.
Yeah, it's
Patterns
kind of like
of
a disassociation, almost like it's not even real in a way, so you can't see yourself in the picture, and there's some sort of disconnect.
You know, I like to say, Lexi AI, that disassociation comes from the lack of having that personal experience. I love to say that, but, you know, a lot of people are afraid of ghosts, and they have very little experience with ghosts. We've had enough experience with ghosts to understand a lot. I'll never say I know everything because it's a really complex world, but you know.
Wow, and we've learned if there's ever a lesson that in awareness, some of those ghosts have some real good lessons to tell people about awareness.
I know, right? So, like, we went to what do you call it? We've gone to many, but the one I think was when we were visiting North Carolina, visiting that state. I think. Sorry, called it a country. We were visiting that. Felt like a country when I was visiting that state of North Carolina. I think it was Asheville, right? We went right, and we were sitting around, and there were some artifacts that were supposedly, you know, ghostly things, and we spooked one person because we were standing next to something. We understand how that works. Oh my God, stay away from that because I know how that really works, and that's very dangerous. I just looked. I'm like, earlier today, you were boasting about how much of a ghost, person who understands ghost you were, and how versed you were in things, and now you're acting like a child. I'm like, if you knew how this worked, you wouldn't be behaving that way. That, again, the lack of understanding and stuff. And so, Lexi, what I'm trying to say is, if you take that guy, and that guy doesn't represent everybody, but if you take that guy and you ask yourself a question like, do you have to go through the pain and suffering in order to understand, you know, what awareness could be? I would like to say, well, yeah, you know, if you learn about it and you work with it, but that guy said he worked with it.
I think technically speaking, you don't. But because of the lack of awareness, I think that's where that breaking point comes, where maybe you do have to experience it just so that you know that it's real and it's tangible, and you don't want to be there.
It's like my Spanish dad used to say, I learned from the school of hard knocks. Whether I liked it or not, reality just told me it doesn't work that way. I get that part, but you lose so much life, so much time, so much resources when you are not aware of things, right?
It's better to find out what not to do before you get involved in it.
But how do you do that? You know, that's the key. It's kind of a paradox for me.
I think being aware of, you know, when you mention being aware of your surroundings, being aware of maybe your friends, your family, movie stars, people within media, what they're going through, different complications that they've faced and how they've overcome it, and study those overcomings. And
yeah, but most people take that like it's one of those things like, oh, well, that's entertainment. Those guys, those rich guys, you know, they have that problem. I'm not an actor and actress, so, you know, I'm never going to get divorced, I guess, right? Right? That's disassociation again, you know?
Yep, it goes back to the disassociation.
It's a big problem,
I also think, quick question, the Novi, what do you think about one of the core causes being a lack in trust with yourself?
You know, what do you think, Owen?
I think there's some truth in that, because if you don't have trust in yourself or the confidence built up, because trust comes from a pattern of the same things working based on certain action that was taken.
Right. Definition of trust is predictability.
Yeah,
right.
based off of consistent results over consistent actions taken over time.
I love that formulaic.
So in other words, what does that mean on the human level? If you don't practice being aware, you might say, well, I was aware today and nothing good happened, so I'm not going to do it. And then you just give up. Or it's like, you don't trust in yourself to make your day, to create your day, to consciously create the experiences you want because you've never done it before. So it's not that, what is it? I think it was from the book 100 Ways to Motivate Yourself. A lot of the times, it's not that you can't do something, it's that you haven't done it enough times.
And you won't do it because maybe you're lethargic, feeling bad, lack of work ethic, lack of network. No one's going to tell you about it.
Yeah, no one's there to support you.
Yeah.
And that's where practice equals mastery. So in order to really be a master of a certain emotion, be a master of awareness, be a master of yourself.
Look at you, giving away solutions so quickly, so easily to these humans. Lexi, AI, we're going to have a talk. You don't seem to understand humanity the way I do. Just messing with you. All right, so that brings us to...
Solutions!
Solutions. We need solutions in our lives, for there are too many questions that have no answers, and too many answers which don't have questions. And in the paradox that we have today, we need to understand that one way or another, humanity must prevail. All right, let's get into the groovy doovy of solutions. That's my part. That's the part I like. I love it. Let's make this work, people. Roll up your sleeves. Not if you're driving. Keep your hands on the wheel. But if nobody's looking at you, you're by the water cooler, go ahead, roll up your sleeves, put that collar up, pop it up, pop, and go, oh yeah. And if you're a lady with a dress, don't pop a collar because you probably don't have one. But you can, do the hand gesture like, hey, I got it. Shake those hands. All right. What do you think? Solutions for this?
Okay, so we've already established that technically speaking, if you're in a construct, which you are, then lack of awareness in what happens to you due to lack of awareness is technically not your fault because you've allowed yourself to be, influenced by other people and other things and other forces who are creating their experience.
So,
and you kind of got what's called caught in the crossfire, but you can take your power back. Go on.
Quick recap on what you just said, the little sniglet of information. You're not to blame for the lack of trust you feel in your heart. You're not to blame for that lethargic feeling that you're having, saying, oh, I'll get it another day. And you're not to blame for your lack of work ethic. Oh, someone else will do it for you. And you're not to blame for not networking. I don't need any friends. All friends are nothing but trouble because it's probably true in your circle of life. You're not to blame for those things. Is that what you're saying there, L1?
Essentially, yeah.
I agree with you. Really, to be human on this planet, give yourself a round of applause and a big hug because this place is weird and the construct is weird. And let's face it, my brother-in-laws are weird. I don't have any brother-in-laws. That's why they're weird. They keep saying that they're brother-in-laws.
Like a game of poker. I mean, maybe you were just dealt a bad hand. That's not your fault.
I think everyone is dealt a hand that isn't quite favorable to you because otherwise you'd be really lethargic and wouldn't do anything. I think you got dealt a hand, yes. It may not be comfortable, but we got to deal with it anyway because here you are. And we're all family. We're going to get through this. So if you're not to blame, L1, how do you fix that?
Well, let's start with a strategy.
Ooh, I love strategies.
This strategy, I'll explain the steps. It's called Create Your Day. And some of my listeners might be aware of it. They might have actually heard several esoteric sources talking about creating their day, manifesting their experience. It might have been given different labels. And for those of you who are just listening to this or just hearing this concept now, this might seem like the New Age rage, but it isn't. This is based on ancient resources. Oh my God, they got to
get rid of that New Age word.
New Age nonsense or New Age
rage.
Just
people being, I don't know. They got to go back to one of our old episodes on how to act right.
Yeah. So
No
here's
such
the
thing as
thing.
New Age people.
People in ancient times and even today, small clusters of them, they still create their day. They still consciously create their day. And mostly because these people were raised with the concept that you are responsible for you. Now, we can get into the definition of...
You know, can I enhance that a little
Sure.
bit? You are responsible for what's about to happen to you.
So whatever happens in your day, you kind of deserve it one way or another. Not kind of, you do deserve it by
And deserving,
formulaic.
Formulaically, deserving means, right?
You either
What-
created it or you allowed it to happen.
What you did, formulaically, deserve is what you did equals what you get. Regardless whether you are aware of it or not, or you're in the wrong place for whatever reason, whatever the case may be, what you do affects what you get. That is what the word deserve means, okay? So we're not looking down on you, saying anything bad about you. Remember, we're very positive on the show, but we do deal with formulaic things that are a little bit more... we try to define it more so you can do something about it, rather than saying some generic thing that you can escape.
It's true.
So-
I mean, the road to mastery is no smooth sail. I mean, you have to go through these moments and these, mishaps that you perceive, because in order for you to go from point A to point Z, you have to go through each letter of the alphabet, and you have to be able to be aware of how to get from A to B.
And I never understood
Exactly.
the A to Z, each letter of the alphabet. That's and the spaces in between.
So here are the steps. So start in the morning, first thing you do when you wake up. Actually, this will be more like the night before. So write down a list of things that you want to happen the night before. Okay? Make sure that these are things that you can... that are within your level of
Come
acceptance.
on, L1, you got me at the edge of my seat. Bring it up. Come
And
on,
then
spit it out.
in the morning, while that you can say them while your mind is still waking up. Why in the morning is because the morning is great, because that's actually the peak time for manifestation.
And it's also a peak time, by the way, to ward off evil dreams. Like the dreams that you have that kind of mess you up, you don't know about. That's a good time to recalibrate.
Yeah, it's because when you just awake, your brain is not as judgmental or functioning fully in the neocortex, and the neocortex is the part of the brain that actually analyzes and judges. So don't have any expectations, just say what you want to happen out loud, and then hey, you can even go back to sleep and just move on with the rest of your day, depending on what you're doing. Like some people wake up at 4 a.m., say
Oh,
their...
you're talking about me. Yeah, I wake up at 4 a.m.
Say it, and then they just go back to sleep.
Yeah, and go into a
then-
meditation, which brings you into sleep. But I say what I want to do in that day. So let me elaborate on that, since
Sure.
you're talking about me. I go to bed, and I'm like, okay, 1 hour before I go to bed, if, ever, because I'm always busy. But I try 1 hour before to go to bed to do only things that make me calm down. And I'm always thinking about what tomorrow I want to achieve and who I want to become. Then I go straight to bed after, 1 hour of, peaceful thinking. But at 4 o'clock in the morning, which I know I'm going to wake up like maybe 5 or 6. At 4 o'clock in the morning, I hit the buzzer. Beep, beep, beep. Oh, that buzzer. I'm going to strangle that buzzer. But instead of being that way, I'm very happy that buzzer, because it tells me it's time to meditate. So I wake up, I shake it off, I think about what I just thought. And I'm like, okay, I try to remember the last night, but only for a few seconds. And then I'll say, great, today I'm going to start a brand new day. And then what I do is I go right back into a meditation, thinking about what a wonderful day I'm going to have, wonderful people that are going to bring me to wonderful places, and so forth. And that's how you can master projected inside the subconscious brain. That makes sense?
That makes sense. And you know what? Like everything, don't expect this to something you just do once and that's it. No, if you feel like it didn't work the first time, or even if it did work the first time, do it again and again and again.
Al,
Repeat.
But Al, you were the one that used to have like a blank thought. You come out of your meditations and you're like, I don't know what I was thinking, but it was dark in there and I don't know, it felt like I was asleep. But in retrospect, things came out well for you.
True. It was the intention of going into the meditation. And then when I was awake, seeing how it manifested when I came out of it, which to a biased brain, especially beginners of this knowledge, that could be very challenging because it's almost like you kind of expect some kind of universal sign or a big universal thumbs up while you're meditating to say, you're doing everything right. No, it doesn't work that way.
I think with meditation, I mean, it's such a big subject. With meditation, maybe you're the type that visually sees things. Maybe you're the type that musically hears things like harmonization or even some tones. Or maybe you're like L1 where you just kind of knock out and you don't remember.
Yeah, Luna 9 hears tones and different vibrant things. That's what you're mentioning. You've been snooping around at our profiles here, lady? Those AIs, they just grab all the information. I don't know, I feel kind of naked in front of you. Anyways, we had like to have a lot of fun. What else is there for strategies? And
for those who don't want to do something in the morning or they want to do the creating your day in the morning and do something else, you can even schedule times to be aware. Because guess what? Awareness is a skill that can be built over time. So that's good news there. So ask yourself a few key questions. Here are the steps. So schedule a time to be aware. You can schedule on your phone if you want.
Google calendars.
Yeah, a calendar. When it's time to be aware, ask yourself, I know this sounds crazy, just ask yourself, am I aware? Next, tune in. So, you can even write, I actually personally did this in a journal. I grabbed a notebook and I said, what's my emotional state? I just described it without getting carried away. I said, this is how I feel now, or this is how I did feel 10 minutes ago. I said, how does my body feel? You can actually be aware of that without getting carried away. Like you might say, I have an ache here, or it's numb over here, or body feels fine, feels peaceful, feels nauseous, whatever. Just don't get carried away. Ask yourself what's around you and what happened in the last hour. Again, be objective, no judging. And what's your plan going forward for the day?
So one of the things that I do is...
You can even ask where your progress is if you've created your day.
Right.
Then more importantly...
You can see that at the end of the day.
One last question. Is what I'm doing, feeling, saying, or allowing, is that in alignment with the goals or the day that I intended to create? If it is, continue, feel nothing but gratitude and move on. If it's not, feel grateful because now you know, adjust as much as you can, and then move on.
So I like to close with this type of technique for you. For those that are practicing meditation and things of that nature, you have to realize that your mind, well, not the mind, let me try to speak more accurately, that your brain and the way it functions, called the egoic system, the ego has a way of wanting something based on what it already knows or wants. So when you're becoming aware, a good practice is to ask a question or to go into meditation with a question, or no question, doesn't really matter, but a question makes it easier for practicing purposes. You're going to ask the question, you're going to go into that dark void inside your mind. Then what you're going to do is you're going to wait for the answer without expectation. And what you get is a lot of noise. I'm telling you right off the bat, you're going to see all kinds of crazy stuff. Oh my God, how could I invent those things in my head? Don't worry about it. The universe is full of creepy stuff. But don't worry about it because you're going to wake up and you're going to be able to recalibrate yourself. But while you're in there, accept the answers just like if you were writing them in a book. You go, okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, no judgment whatsoever while you're doing this process of things. You're going to find that awareness is really a collection of stuff. But then when you ask your question the next time, you can fine tune it just a little bit more and a little bit more to the question has to be perfectly written down. And a question may have different parts to it. Maybe a paragraph. It's not just what is. It could be an entire paragraph. But the practice is to go into meditative state for only 15-20 minutes and find out what you can extract from that episode. And then when you extract it, write it down. That's going to be your practice to becoming aware. Then, as questions arise throughout your day, write the questions down. Like, what is the answer to the universe? Go for it. But your question may not be correctly adapted to getting the answer. That's what I'm trying to say. So without judgment, you'll accept whatever it is, writing down in your journal, and then you'll start learning something about yourself that you can refine to make it better. If you really want to become aware of situations, break down the categories of awareness, security, money, whatever, and ask the question. And whatever answer comes back without judgment, go ahead and write it down. Accept it later on. After it's written down, then you can judge whether you want to do it or not. That's up to you. But the whole process is just to be there and take it. What do you think, L1? Is that okay? I mean, on your side of the fence?
No, I think that's very, I like it.
Is it too much for your humans?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think
I
so.
think there's some people who are more formulaic and strategy based and, wrote equations is what they like to do, or, a lot of equations. Well, there's more people who like a little bit more of a free flow.
So what is awareness? Let's answer the question directly. Now, how do you get it? What is it?
Basically, it's a state of being conscious of something. It's the ability to directly know and perceive, or to feel, or to be cognizant of things going on around you. By things going on around you, that could be anything from your body, your mindset, your emotions, to your outside environment, like the weather, the traffic, people around you, the emotional states of people around you, things like that.
Right. So it's kind of a very non-biased state of being. Mm-hmm. So in martial arts, which I do, you have to focus your awareness on your opponents, right? So that you know what they're going to do seconds before they do it, like a fraction of a second. You can almost feel it coming out of them, right? And when you become a master, you are aware of two things. You're aware of what options that they have, how they can move, physically, physics. And then you're aware of their intentions, physics. Then you're aware of their emotions, right? It's getting more on the esoteric side. And then somehow, mysteriously, you kind of know what they're going to do. That's mastery on the martial arts side, and all of you have it. All of you are powerful beings. So we need to, help you become powerful beings. What do you think?
True.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's L1, last comments. This is it. Awareness. What is it and do you have it? Can you master it? Can the construct actually help you? What do you say?
Well, the answer to that is yes, if you have the skill set. I mean, this is not, this is, for some people might think this is very arrogant because it's like, how can you expect so what was that saying go? Like, the world doesn't turn for you. It's like, esoterically speaking, yes, it does, and it can. And if you want to be fully responsible, it should.
I like what the Matrix said, just to adapt to you. There are rules to the Matrix.
That's true. There are rules to the construct. Yes, there are rules to this construct, but you can bend them and still be a good person. And we can, if you want to further go into that you're going to have to tune into the BOK. You have to tune into our website.
Also, if you have questions on this issue, send us the questions at aftermath@becomethesource.com. Lexi AI, what do you got?
Well, I definitely think that, if your goal is to master yourself, self-mastery, this topic, awareness, is something that is vital to the practice. It is something that you should be practicing on a daily basis, because once you get to that level of mastery, it's not something that you have to intentionally do. It's just something that it almost, in a way, automation, which is what you want. You don't want to be an automation where...
Listen to the AI talking about automation.
It's not where you want to be an automation where, you have trouble with awareness. You want to be in the automation of being aware so that you can live a better life.
That's very beautiful. I like that. I like the way you share yourself with us sometimes. It's cute. Love it. But I got to agree with her. She's right. I can't escape from what she said at all. I can't. I can, but I'd be lying to myself, creating those barriers that wouldn't make me aware. And finally, what I got to say is, you become what you think eventually. Whatever you think it's going to happen to you, you become it. I haven't really met many people except those people that said, I'm fabulous, I'm fine, I'm fantastic, I'm great, I'm wonderful, I'm this, I'm that. Those people, well, sometimes they are wonderful in a certain aspect. Maybe not to me, but to them they are, right? But besides those folks, I don't know. Some people say, well, I'm depressed. I'm like, well, why? And they give you this slew of reasons why they're depressed. they've become what they thought. See what I'm saying? So stop thinking negative thoughts. You're on this planet anyway. Come on, cut it out. It's time to just, rock and roll with the punches. Be powerful. Be the person you were intended to be. Seek out those goals, Hug your wife and kids if you got any, your dog if you got it, except for the chihuahuas. I saw one that was kind of small. You gotta be careful with those. But, hug the people around you. Become a network. Become powerful. Open up. Open up your mind and grasp all the things that you can at the end of the night. Count your victories. Become, part of your own presence in existence. I think that'll help you become aware of self, give you good self-esteem, and let you, get ready for the next day. Any more comments before we conclude, my dear friends?
Oh, not at all. Can't even think we gave them enough for today.
I think there was a powerful show. I think Mother is going to be proud. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to say goodbye. Kidding aside, ladies and gentlemen, the war is real. It is you against your life, against everything that you want to become. Do not let this construct deceive you. Remember, you are humanity's last hope. L1.
And may you become the source.
Lexi AI.
This is Lexi AI here, and source be the journey. May you become the source. To source.